Hold on. Go back. I can't hear you.
We're back.
Go back. Let's do it
I
again.
lost it. What an auspicious start, dude. We had a whole plan. I was pressing buttons.
We're trying to figure it out.
Well, let me start by saying we're back. How long had we been gone? Are you there?
Yeah. We've been gone a little bit.
It was crazy. So, gosh, we had this whole countdown started. Sorry, gang, but welcome back. For those of you who have joined us, this is the Right Guys podcast. I'm Josh.
And my name is Max. Josh and Max. My video is a little bit delayed right now. We're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure it out. Here we go. Welcome everyone. This is our new podcast called The Right Guys. If you remember us from Conservative Daily Podcast, welcome. I started that podcast. Josh was the second person. You were the second person to come on board originally, Josh.
Yeah.
Because Joe came on as a guest under his pseudonym. So you were actually the second. So we left that outfit last year, and we've decided to go it on our own. Well, I mean, you have your own thing that you're doing. I have my own thing that we're doing. But we've been talking over the last year, and we realized that we missed this. That we missed being able to do this and being able to talk about things. And no shade to those guys, whoever's still over there. But I at least noticed that they weren't talking about the things that I would have wanted to talk about, which is fine. They have their own preferences. That's fine.
Sure.
But then I realized that no one's talking about the things that I wanted to talk about. So that's what's really been nagging me over the last year. What have you been up to, producer Josh?
After that thing went south, was the best way to put it. I was kind of trying to figure out what I was going to do for quite a while. I was just kind of sitting there thinking to myself, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? I know everybody says that to themselves. And, I started working for myself, still kept in the production side of things. I still do the voiceover stuff. So you can go to voicehammer.com if you ever want that stuff. And it's a great website. We get you hooked up for all kinds of videos if you need them, or voiceover work, you name it, over there. So I started that, and then one day I got kind of bored, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go take some martial arts and stuff again, which is crazy when you're my age because you get hurt pretty easy. I get hurt a lot, let me tell you. And
the kicks aren't as high as they were when you were younger.
Actually, the hardest part is how my knees will just ache at night, just laying there. I'm like, oh, it'll wake you up. But I went and started doing martial arts. I got involved with this little outfit called Rocky Mountain Self-Defense and Fitness. John over there, it's a great group, rmsdf.com if you want all fitness, Krav Maga, and this other thing called Citizen Defender. I decided to get some training by this group called Integrated Defense Strategies. It's taught by Todd Fossey. It's a firearm fighting discipline. So imagine that you're using simunitions to actually fight each other with a gun, wrestle with the gun, how to, I didn't turn that off, but how to conceal and retain that weapon in and out of holster, right? So you're actually fighting in ways that you never thought about how to fight with a gun. And it's really scary when you realize that you don't know how to hold onto a gun when somebody's trying to take it away from you. And everybody who thinks that they are an expert, I would challenge you to come in, if I don't get your gun off you in a simulated situation in less than 60 seconds, I'll give you the first class for free. But I will give it off you. I need less than 6. You give me less than 30 seconds, I'll take your gun. And that's a real statement. And it's kind of crazy.
There you
go. So it's been a lot of fun. I've been enjoying doing it. And
so in the last year, you've become John Wick.
Well, kind of like John Wick, but real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the guy Todd Fossey always says that his John Wick's nickname is Todd Fossey, but for the most part, what you see in John Wick, like being able to roll and throw somebody, you know how hard throws are. You know how hard it is to roll with people. And, it just really opens your eyes to what you do and do not know if you're going to be carrying a firearm with you. So I wanted to learn that. We did it.
And then you realize that they did that for the last John Wick movie.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves did that up the entire stairway up to Sacré-Cœur, which is super long. And he's doing all those stunts himself.
Dude.
It gives you a new appreciation for it, I bet.
Yeah, just being able to just roll and tumble down a set of stairs is in itself like its own discipline. But being able to just put a gun on target, being able to fight with a gun, being able to hold on to it, being able to try to take a firearm away from somebody or any weapon, that could be a knife too. And that's even hard. I quit carrying a knife because it's hard enough to defend one weapon when you're in a fight, let alone two. And it's blown my mind. It's really fun. So, if you guys are
knives are scary, but knives are scary because even if you have a gun, a guy with a knife can close the distance more often than not before you can get that shot off.
Yeah, we do all kinds of drills with that.
Super scary.
Remember, in a fight, if a knife comes out, everybody's getting cut. Everybody's getting cut. There is no, at least with the gun, there's only one end that's going to hurt you if it comes out. And I've just been living life. I'm under a lot less stress than I used to be. You know what I mean? Being able to enjoy work, and
I caused some of that stress for you, I'm pretty sure.
You were like 30% of it. All right.
We were joking as we're coming on here. We're like, where's Joe? Where's Joe? Where is he?
Yeah.
Get him in the chair. Yeah. Stop him chewing now.
Right.
Take the ice cubes out of his cup.
Is he texting on his phone?
Yeah. Turn off his phone.
Right.
Yeah.
Turn off the ringer.
There was good stress. There was good stress for all of that.
Oh yeah, and I do miss it. I do miss stress. Like all the times we'd sit down and we'd have a good show, and it would be a lot of fun. You get the guest on, and executing a good show. I don't miss the days when stuff would always go bad, like when the auspicious start of this one, where it's just
our first intro. We'll fix that. We're gonna fix that.
We'll get there, folks. But what have you been up to, man? I mean, tell the audience what you've been doing, because
out
the wazoo now.
Well, I've been kind of diving headfirst into working in the pro-life movement. There's been a lot that's been going on in the past year, obviously with that major Supreme Court decision. So I've kind of dove into that. Wrote a couple of books, which it's cool to be able to say. 2 books. I guess I can put them up. The newest one is the Conservatives' Guide to Winning Every Abortion Argument, which is a textbook. And then obviously the one I did last year, which was Winning Every Gun Control Argument. So those are up. Those are on Amazon. I think they're actually everywhere. What's crazy, Josh? There's a guy in Australia who bought them and is now selling them on eBay for like 3 times face value.
How do you it's time to send a cease and desist? Where's your cut?
No. He's a bookstore. He's a bookstore. He paid me royalties. So I made money on it. He's just an online bookstore, which is cool. Yeah. So I've been doing that, and as I said, I missed talking about this kind of stuff. Right. I missed. Obviously, we've talked a lot over the past year. Yeah. Every time we saw something big going down in Colorado or Texas, we're on the phone. But I missed being able to do this, and as I said, there's no shade at whoever is over. I know Joe's still there. I think Apollo is still there. I don't know who else is working. I don't think Zach's there anymore. No shade at them, but it's not the same. And that's fine. It doesn't have to be the same, right? Things change over time. And what I was telling you when we were talking the other day is I really like Plutarch's thought experiment called The Ship of Theseus, which anyone, if you've watched WandaVision on Disney Plus, you've heard that. That's at the end of that one. But the Ship of Theseus, and my video just froze now. The Ship of Theseus talks about the ship that came into port in Athens, and they put it in a museum. And over time, the wood starts to rot and decay, so they take all of the pieces of wood off the ship, and over time, they replace it with new boards, new planks, and after enough time passes, there's no original pieces of wood on the Ship of Theseus from when it pulled into port after all of its exploits. So that's kind of how I feel now, and that's what I hope this new show becomes. Obviously, as I said at the start, I started the Conservative Daily Podcast on my couch with my cell phone, recording it line by line, because the dogs would bark or a plane would fly overhead or a car would honk. So I'd have to record it line by line on my couch and then edit it together in post. You came on because you said that's ridiculous. You can't be doing that.
Yeah, and we could take it to a different kind of format.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And I want to get back to that, right? I want to get back to what our podcast was in those early days, because we were putting out some really, really, really good content. And obviously the guys at Conservative Daily, they're going to do what they're going to do. That's fine, right? The interesting thing about the Ship of Theseus thought experiment, though, is if you replace all of those boards, what happens if you take the old boards and you put them back together?
It's the Ship
right?
of Theseus, or is it a different ship?
Then you have two ships of Theseus, which is weird. You have the one ship that has no original parts, but it's the ship, and then you put the other parts back together. So that's what I hope this show can be. I hope that we can recapture some of that energy, some of that fun that we had in the early days, and
the truth,
yeah,
actual media.
Well, no, now we're taking digs at them. I don't want to.
No. I wasn't doing that. I'm just saying people are hungry for what we had, right? They still want to come back and hear that.
Yeah,
I wasn't taking digs at them. It's just the way we reported that news and reactions to that stuff. That's what we're after.
Yeah,
so that's what we're gonna do. So we hope them the best.
We hope them the best, and maybe we'll collab one day. Probably not anytime soon, but maybe one day we can get to that point. Right. That'd be fun. Is my video glitching a lot?
I think it's just you. I think it's
just me personally.
Right.
It's just me personally.
Like, we were in the test studio and we're setting all this stuff. We're getting squared away. Everything's looking good. We're like, we can't wait to go. As soon as we hit the live button, it's like things just went sideways.
As soon as we hit the live button, I think it's because I'm actually trying to use Wi-Fi instead of a hard connection. Back in the day for the Conservative Daily podcast, I had a long cord snaking through my house from the downstairs up the stairs to this room in my office. That's how I did it. Yeah. Well, it was COVID, right? You weren't allowed to bring a cable guy out to your house and have him. So that was the solution. I was just too lazy to actually do it. So I think somewhere around this room, I'm looking at a phone jack. So I think there's a phone jack. I think I can get DSL in here. I'll have to do that.
The boys to set it up for you while you're doing the show. They'll be quiet. They won't make.
Oh yeah, my 3-year-old and 5-year-old. Yeah.
Then they'll let the dogs in, and that's
the dogs in, the cat in.
You're looking good now. Everything you quit slipping in between dimensions, so you look good now.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I closed out a couple of things on my desktop.
Well, that helped.
That I think were causing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's going to be the goal of this show, to recapture some of that energy, some of the exuberance, kind of the in-depth stuff, talk about the stuff that matters. And my hope is that we can recapture that. And I think the goal is we're going to make this a weekly show. And if we can get some good feedback and good viewership and grow it, then obviously we can do a couple days a week.
Sure.
It might take a little bit to get to a point where it's a daily, but I'd love to get, I'd love to get there. And ultimately that's going to be up to people watching and making sure that we are providing the right kind of content that they want to watch. So, just to get out of the way, we're broadcasting on YouTube. We're broadcasting on Rumble. We're also going to be putting the audio podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Audible, and Podbean. All those links are in the description. So make sure you subscribe. Even if you watch the video podcast, please do also subscribe to an audio podcast somewhere. Set it up to auto download. Just because as we go out to try and get advertisers, they will measure YouTube views. They don't care too much about Rumble views, but they really care about audio views. So if you can do that, help us as we grow this. It would be super, super, super appreciated. We do also have a donation link in the description. If you want to help out, no pressure at all. We're not big right now. I think we have like $50 on each side of us right now in costs so far. But if you want to help out and help us grow this and expand it, that would be obviously super appreciated.
Fantastic.
And
We'd love
that in the link. And if you want to get something for it, we do have a first sponsorship, Prep SOS. We can go ahead and go to my screen. Let me.
Oh,
There we go.
Oh, see,
yeah, there we go.
Back. I'm back, baby.
He's back. He's back. I was telling you to do it, realizing I could do it myself. PrepSOS.com. Super happy that they are partnering with us. Survival stuff, right? Survival food. I got my food. I brought it in here.
And it tastes good.
Yeah, you just pick up a case of food, throw it in a closet, and pray that you never need it. And when you reach that, and when you reach that 25-year shelf life, eat it, and it's not going to suck.
You can take this stuff camping. You just don't have to like buy it and just let it sit. Taking a bucket of that with you camping is worth its weight in gold. It saves you so much. Just take some warm water with you. You're set. You know it's extremely useful.
I just realized I have another case underneath my desk, so I'm surrounded by it. So go to prepsos.com if you want to help support the show. Use promo code MAX, M-A-X. You'll get 5% off, and you'll help support the show. We'll get a little bit of a commission on that too. But they've got tons of other stuff there. They have these life straws, if you've ever seen these before. These are super great. God forbid you ever find yourself in a survival situation. You need to drink water that you might not know if it's clean or not. This is a pretty good filter for the size, and you can drink out of certain bodies of water. I think you can actually even drink out of like really muddy water with that. You'll clog up the filter, but you'll survive.
The cleaner the water, the better. Cleaner-ish.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. No. So head on over to prepsos.com, use promo code MAX, and stock up and help support the show. Okay. So we got all of the little pleasantries, the state of the union out of the way.
Yeah. So
there was something that came out that stood out to both of us as we were thinking about what do we want to make this first show about. And
it was going to be cocaine in the White House, but we were like, nah. I mean, that's kind of done. That's been blown out of proportion.
Super interesting that, I mean, I know friends of mine went through medical school. Mm-hmm. And they always tell me about the idea that if you hear hoofbeats, you got to think horses, not zebras. And that's like a diagnostic tool that they teach doctors that, hey, if someone comes in with a fever, think the common cold, don't think malaria, right? Because it could be something crazy, but chances are it is what you think it is, the most obvious choice. And with this, when you have a crackhead in the White House, and then the next day they find cocaine. That seems like the obvious choice.
Answer there, right? You just want now. Can we call him a crackhead anymore? Can we call Hunter a crackhead? Is that still appropriate? Do we have to throw allegedly in there? No.
No. He wrote about it in his memoir.
Oh, then it's fine. So you had a crackhead.
He's also in pretrial diversion for his gun crime.
Oh.
Because he pled guilty to buying a gun while addicted to crack.
Didn't you report on that like a year and a half ago? Almost 2? Remember that?
It's infuriating. Infuriating.
And then we were fact-checked that...
we got fact-checked on that.
We got fact-checked hard. But here we are.
That infuriates me. I mean, I did so much research into this thing, like figuring out where they dumped it. I got Google Street Views. I had people taking pictures of it because it wasn't just that he bought a gun while he's on crack, which is against the law.
Illegal.
It's not just that they actually didn't charge him with simultaneous possession, which they should have because he admitted to it. They charged him with lying on the background check form, the 4473.
Still a felony.
The crazy part is they charged him for illegally buying a revolver. But there's pictures from the Hunter Biden laptop of him holding a semi-auto while he's high.
Is the charge different between the two?
Well, they didn't charge him with that. They didn't charge him with the fact that he let his gun fall into someone else's hands, who then tossed it into a dumpster in a school zone. They didn't charge him with that. That's an easy charge. Mm-hmm. Because if we didn't lock up our guns, Josh, and someone took it and dumped it in a school zone, we'd be held accountable for that.
We would be in a lot of doo-doo, for lack of a better word. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he got a kind of a little for that one.
So they didn't get him for that.
Yeah.
He's not going to lose his right to keep and bear arms, Which an absolutist, a Second Amendment absolutist, you shouldn't lose your right to keep and bear arms if you are using drugs. That wasn't the law of the land at the time of the founding, right?
Yeah.
But if you lie to the federal government, that is a kind of crime that the founding fathers said you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
But he's not going to lose that. He's not going to see a day in prison.
Nope.
They investigated him for 5 years. And all of the FBI agents who did the investigation, I don't think any of them ended up actually signing the final report. They brought new FBI agents in to sign the final report because my thinking is they were so furious at the charging decision that they didn't want to attach their name to it.
Oh.
Because if you're investigating for someone for 5 years, at the 11th hour, new people from the Justice Department and the FBI come on board to finish it up, that tells me that they wanted to take the prosecution one way and the higher up said no.
Yeah, right.
That's what that tells
strings
me.
are being pulled behind the scenes, and I wonder how much. And there's been rumors that there was angst in that investigation, especially some of the people in the FBI. So it doesn't surprise me that makes a good point, man. I don't think I've heard anybody mention that in a lot of the news cycles, and we pay attention to that a lot. So very interesting.
He won't be charged for that. He won't see the inside of a prison cell, but pretrial diversion should he's going to be on a parole of a kind. That should involve drug testing. It should involve drug testing. Whether or not they actually test him, no idea. Whether they test him now, I don't know if we don't have the video ready, but did you see him on the balcony at the White House for 4th of July?
No.
He looked coked out. No, I'm serious.
Yeah, I know. It's like he can't help himself. That's what
I'm dead serious.
Do. I mean, if you can find that would be crazy. Because, if he's coked out at the White House, if right, that means he had to have at least cocaine on him, right, to get all coked out at the White House. That's kind of how it happens, right? So
and there's even one of what it looks like him taking a bump.
You're kidding.
No. Let me see if I can find it. I'm going to myself so it doesn't.
I lost you there. That just sounds crazy.
Here we go.
Bad audio, Max. No, bad audio.
Can't hear me now?
I can hear you fine, but the video.
That was the video. So here it is. Let's
watch that.
That's the bump.
Oh, you got to be kidding me. I mean, that's.
And there are times where he comes out on the balcony, he looks like he's just seen a demon. Like it's on the balcony on 4th of July, but that's the moment that people are saying he took a bump.
Wow, he couldn't resist he couldn't walk into the bathroom and do it like a normal human being. He's got to be on the balcony of the presidential balcony to do that. And if you're and he's walking away and he puts something in his pocket.
Yeah.
Because the arm drops. Wow.
And look at that look. Giving a little side eye to Joe.
Yep. Seeing if anybody's paying attention. He gets the arm ready. I love this. We're play-by-playing it. And a little
pick me up.
Just a little bump, dog. Just a little bump.
Listen, now we don't know. We don't know. But the fact that they found cocaine
at the White House
right around that time. Listen, if you hear hoofbeats, think horses, not zebras.
And you
think the crackhead. They're trying to blame it on Kamala, which is funny.
What? Like, man, love to throw her under the bus, but they're going to do it for us.
Yeah.
You would think that the most secure building in the world, you'd be able to figure out maybe where it came from.
And that's the thing. So we don't have good video surveillance of where they put
stuff. That's just, there's no way to. You're talking about there's more video there. There's probably thousands of hours of footage for one day because there's so many cameras everywhere. there's got to be thermals, and there's got to be,
there's no such thing as a blind spot. There just isn't.
And if there is, then the Secret Service has work to do.
Yeah.
Right. But we weren't going to make this episode about.
We weren't going to make about it, but it is interesting. There's lots interesting about it. What really got our attention was this New York Post piece, and I think it was a couple other outfits ran it too.
That one, yeah.
Biden's rage-fueled bullying of staff is more reason to worry. Mm-hmm. And what the reporting is indicating is that he has these profane outbursts where behind the scenes, not to reporters. We've seen it to reporters. We've seen him curse out reporters
and strangers
and yell at reporters, yell at strangers. But these are his own staffers.
Right.
And he's yelling at them. And some quotes that Axios, the original outfit that reported on this, God damn it, how the F don't you know this? If someone didn't have an answer for him. And then he said, don't effing bullshit me. And he would tell people just to get the F out of here. Now listen, I'm sure Trump had some salty language.
Sure. I get that.
But this is coming from Democrats. These are Democrats leaking from the White House. Mm-hmm. Do you know how bad it has to be for Joe Biden's rage-fueled attacks to get leaked to a liberal paper?
Mm-hmm. Yes, you're talking about the group that takes care of its own, right? Loves to hide what they can, whatever they can to make him look good. And then this comes out. And have you ever had experience with somebody with dementia, if he has dementia?
Yeah.
So it's not uncommon when somebody has dementia that there can be outbursts. They can just be kind of normal. They can be, really nice, but then they can just kind of go into this nasty viciousness out of nowhere, like from 0 to 100, just like that.
And not even over important things.
No.
Like if anyone's known a family member, friend who's gone through dementia, Alzheimer's, any kind of mental decline, that like a simple thing like trying to put your jacket on and not being able to put your arm through the armhole can just infuriate someone, set them off. Mm-hmm. Anything that goes wrong, even the slightest thing, can just completely set them off. And I pulled this up just so that we could talk about it. The 10 warning signs of dementia. And Josh, my goodness, Biden has hit every single one of these.
Well, just look at the first one. It looks like Biden. I don't know who did that.
It actually does. It actually does look like him.
But the memory loss. Right?
Memory loss. Absolutely, he has memory loss.
We see it all the time. Watch him talk and he goes to the word salad. Where am I at?
Yeah. Absolutely. Disorientation. Oh, let's go.
Let's go through them in order, man. Let's hit them
Difficulty performing familiar tasks.
Let's see. The flip book for the reporters.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be one because when we used to watch Trump, he just start hitting people because he'd know him, right? Because he's got his cognitive abilities are still pumping. He starts looking at the crowd. Yeah. If
the cue card.
He needs that because he cannot remember simple names, right? Or where they're at. And the thing is haven't they been there's been rumors that they've been giving him the questions early.
Yeah.
So he's familiar with them?
Not rumors. No. We've seen other copies of these cards where it actually tells him what their question is going to be.
And you kind of put it up here. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the instructions.
You take your seat. Wow.
You take your seat. You give brief comments. You ask the president of the AFL-CIO a question. You thank the participants and you depart. Wow. Like, come on. This is
day one kindergarten stuff that you got to know to just function, right?
Yeah.
So what's next?
I'd say that falls into difficulty performing tasks. Absolutely.
Yeah. Right.
Problems with language. We've seen it.
Right, but
we've seen it.
Well, and then I was, and then we were telling, and we just got back. Right. I mean, how many times have we heard that come out of his mouth on any presser?
Yeah. I mean,
all the time.
I'm gonna pull up one.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't have them. If you could get cut 11.
Cut 11. Bear with me again.
Yeah, cut 11. It's completely incoherent.
All right, I'm playing it now. Here we go.
They're asking him.
You got the vaccination?
Yeah.
Are you okay? I mean, you seem, no, it works. Or or the mom and dad, or the neighbor, or when you go to church, or when you're, no, I really mean it. There are trusted interlocutors. Think of the people.
Trusted interlocutors?
If your kid wanted to find out whether or not there's a man on the moon, or whatever, something, or, whether those aliens are here or not, who are the people they talk to beyond the kids who love talking about it?
So the question was, we go back to it. Oh, sorry, I pulled you off.
It's okay.
How do you change the mistrust in the system among some members of the Black community? And he's talking about man on the moon, trusted.
And the vaccine?
Yeah. Well,
you started with the vaccine. Did you get the vaccine?
It was generally about like vaccine hesitancy among the Black community, but it somehow shifts to man on the moon and aliens. Very strange.
Didn't stay on
very,
topic.
very, very, very strange. So let's pull it back up. That's problems with language. Poor and decreased judgment. I think he had that just by virtue of being a Democrat. But but no, in seriousness though, he has shown terrible judgment. I'm
trying to think of like an example of that. It could just be kind of like when he decides to go somewhere, or he's walking. Maybe that, or is that one of the other signs? I mean, he can't really figure out where to go, and that's like a judgment he has to make, right? Like a call. And who knows what it's like with his aides in the White House, right? If is he capable of making a decision, and his judgment on those decisions, when those questions he's being asked, it's like,
well, when you actually see it, there's so much evidence to suggest he isn't the one making the decisions, that other people are. Now, any president's going to have advisors. They're going to delegate. That's fine. But, and we have like 100 cuts. We don't have to play them all, but there's so many cuts of him saying he's going to get in trouble if he says something. That if he answers a question, he's going to get in trouble. If he stays somewhere too long, he's going to get in trouble. He's the president of the United States.
You can't get in trouble.
Asterisk.
Right. So we asked this question a long time ago. Remember, I asked you one day, it was on the air, who's in control of the United States then? Who's in control of the United States? It sounds like the old...
Depends on your theory du jour, right?
I mean, is Jill making those calls? Often Jill, the wife of the president...
Jill's a very smart lady. Jill's a doctor.
She's a doctor.
I'll have you know.
Is she? I never heard that.
First time, right?
Right.
She is a community college doctor. Which, listen, it's tough work, right? But if I wrote a thesis on community college education, I wouldn't go around demanding that I be referred to as Dr. Max.
I do know people who have those kind of degrees where you could call them a doctor, and they're like, don't call me a doctor because I'm not a doctor. Right? A physician should be a doctor. Hey, doc, what's going on? Otherwise, I would call you like professor, right?
Yeah. For the next one, if you can pull up cut 17.
Yeah.
Disorientation to time and place. This is something that can happen as you get older, but it's something that Biden does more than Biden and Nancy Pelosi do it the most.
Right.
Where they think that they're still in the Iraq War. They think they're still in the Iraq War, and they just talk about Iraq. Mm-hmm. And they refer to the president as Bush. Pelosi did that so much. A part of that is just muscle memory, right? You complain about Bush for so long, you're just going to do it again. But this cut 17, it's happened like a week or two ago. Biden saying that Putin is losing the war in Iraq. Do we have that?
Here we go.
Has Vladimir Putin been weakened by recent events? It's hard to tell, but he's clearly losing the war in Iraq. He's losing the war at home. And he is
have to laugh.
A bit of a fly around the world. It's not just NATO.
Putin is clearly losing the war in Iraq. Now, that's muscle memory. That's muscle memory. But this is what can happen when you have dementia or Alzheimer's. You can channel another time, right? Where you'll be talking to someone and you'll be like, oh, what's so-and-so doing? And they'll give you an answer. Oh, no, so-and-so is working down at the factory. when in reality that person quit the factory 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But they feel like they're in a different time, and their brain is pulling memories and pulling thoughts from that time period.
Right.
Another example. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, they pull from the long-term memory because that's all that stays, right? As you start losing the myelination in your brain, you lose your ability to function with short-term memory, right? And the thing is that it's kind of a big deal to know that the war that you're dealing with right now is in Ukraine, right? I mean, that should be a gimme, but still being able to pull from that long-term memory just to try to be able to make it a coherent answer. There's nothing there in the short term to pull from. It's just not there, most likely.
No, it's just not there.
Terrifying.
And if we can play cut 18, this is old. I had to go through the old Conservative Daily cuts folder I still have. When Biden was campaigning in New Hampshire, he thought he was in Vermont. So he does this a lot, but this one I think is the most egregious. If we can play that cut 18.
I'm back. I've been here a number of times. Last time was, I think, all the way back in 2014, but I've been here before that. I love this place. Look, what's not to like about Vermont in terms of the beauty of it? And what a neat town.
He's in New Hampshire.
This is sort of a scenic, beautiful town. The mayor's...
So this is...
Could you imagine being the aide or the person who's like his watcher in that moment, his handler, and you're just sitting there like, no, and you're trying to say like, New Hampshire, New Hampshire, New Hampshire. You're like whispering it or something. I love Vermont.
Now, I'll play devil's advocate for a second. When you're on the campaign trail, you're flying all over the place. You might not know where you are. You might not know the right city. Sure. You might think you're going to a different state, but you actually were brought to a different state. Things can change. That can happen. You can get discombobulated. It can happen.
Easy.
The problem is, this was before the first in the nation New Hampshire primary. So the only state he was campaigning in was New Hampshire, right? You go to Iowa for the Iowa caucuses. Then you go to New Hampshire for the first in the nation primary. Then you go to South Carolina. This would be like him campaigning in South Carolina before the big day and saying he's actually in North Carolina. Because Vermont votes a long time after.
If you're on the campaign trail like that, right, and you are flying around, your aides better be on top of telling what town you're in. That is why you pay them, right? You pay me to sit there and say, we're here, get it right. You should know.
You should just know.
Right, but again, he should know, and he should have a bunch of aides saying, "You're in Vermont.
You're in New Hampshire. You made the mistake."
But that's what you pay him for, right? It's like, this is where you're at. This is what you say. It's like being on stage at a rock concert, and you're like, "Hello, we love you, St. Louis," and it's like we're in Cincinnati. Hello, Cincinnati. People would hate you for it.
They would hate you.
Yeah, and I have probably short-term memory, obviously. So. I'd be pissed.
So, on the one hand, I don't want to pile on for a mistake that anyone can make. But when you're going into the New Hampshire primary, you know that it's not the Vermont primary, right? It's the only one on the calendar. So, I don't know.
Maybe he was just confused.
Number 6, problem keeping track of things.
I don't think he should have done that.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what the list is, like telling you, like, hey, remember, you're doing this, doing this, doing this.
Yeah.
We wouldn't really know that unless we were there near him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But there's enough signs to suggest it's probably happening too. Number 7, misplacing things. Again, that's something that we really have to be there to know.
Yeah, to see.
And that's where we get to 8, changing in moods and behavior, which is why this article is really concerning because that doesn't tend to be an early sign. When you start having outbursts and you start hurting people, which I don't know if he's hit people, right? But when you start getting really angry and berating people and dressing them down, you've gotten much farther.
It's advancing for sure. It's advancing, right? I mean, I'm also not let me start by saying I'm not a dementia expert. I just draw on the experiences that I have.
Yeah.
Right. And when you see that change in mood and behavior, and it happens quick, right? It's like on a flip side of a coin. Suddenly it's like you're dealing with normal Joe, and then you're dealing with, dementia Joe Biden out of nowhere.
It's a Jekyll and Hyde kind of situation.
Oh yeah, best way to put it, man.
At times.
Yeah, absolutely.
And no, I'm not an expert. I'm not a mental health professional. I'm not a elderly health professional. When we were on the Conservative Daily podcast, we did have nurses call in who worked at retirement homes, nursing homes, and they confirmed all of this. So
yeah, they break it down for us, man. They were the pros. And
the difficulty is there are ethical rules that say you can't diagnose someone with having a certain psychological. You can't diagnose someone with having something if you haven't seen them in person as a doctor.
Yeah.
So we can do it because we're laymen, but you'll notice that they had no problem doing that for Trump.
Oh, not at all.
When Trump took a sip of water and he just did this. Right. Oh my goodness. They had every doctor online.
He got every Corinthians doctor wrong.
Yeah.
That's all I can say is you're right.
Yeah. Trouble with images and spatial relationships. Ooh. Spatial relationships is being able to tell that something is 10 feet away, which reminds me of this.
Yes, because if he's
tripping and falling on a sandbag, the spatial relationship is you see it and you don't recognize it's as close as it actually is. You think you have more time. You think you have more space. You think you can step over it. Walking away from a podium and tripping and falling on a little sandbag, that speaks, and also falling up the stairs. If you've ever studied, I mean, I feel weird saying this. I've actually studied stairs. I've read about stairs, and
I never have. So you're the expert now. Go ahead.
I'm the expert.
You're the expert now.
Here, the interesting thing about stairs is one of the reasons that there's a code on how high stairs have to be is because if you get it off, people fall down the stairs. So if you ever go somewhere, go to another country that has a different code for how high stairs have to be, or you go to someone who's built something in their backyard and they have different height steps, your brain goes on autopilot and you say, oh, I know how high these steps are. I know how high to lift my leg. I can do it. I can tell you that I've tried to climb staircases in other countries where they're different heights, and I've tripped and fallen because I tried to run it on autopilot.
Yeah.
When you see Joe Biden tripping and falling up the stairs, that's the kind of because it doesn't make you trip down the stairs because you can run down the stairs no matter how high or how low they are.
You can close your eyes if you just feel it.
Yeah. It's walking up the stairs and knowing how high to lift that next leg.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out what's on the heel of his shoe there. It just looks weird. Like, does he have to have fancy shoes too?
Well, you know what that looks like?
No.
I'm an expert on shoes. Do you know that too?
Now, I had no idea.
That reminds me. Once. I in college I held a job. I was a bouncer at the Jersey Shore, and one of the requirements was that we had to wear no slip shoes in the restaurant. Wow. And they had this like different kind of rubber sole, and that's what that reminds me of. Like anyone who's ever worked in a restaurant, those look like the restaurant shoes where they're normal, except underneath it's just a different grip.
Yeah.
So that's what that reminds me of.
Trump looks like he was always wearing some sort of fashion, like high fashion shoe.
Yeah, he was wearing like
he was all about the
slippery shoes.
I'll slip. I don't care. It's huge.
Yeah.
That's scary, man.
So trouble with spatial relationships, I'm seeing that all over the place. Him falling up the stairs. Yeah. That is him not being able to tell how high the steps are.
Well, yeah. And what about like the wandering away too?
Well, that's the withdrawal from work and social activities.
Okay.
So we have that one. Let's go ahead. Let's pull cut 3.
Cut 3.
This is a little bit old. This was when Biden was giving a speech at FEMA. And he just walks away.
Yeah. And
you can see the poor FEMA administrator tries to like handle him to tell him no, and then they just went with it and clapped for him. Right. Let's go ahead and play that. That's cut 3.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Just in the middle of it.
We're just gonna go shake some hands, kiss some babies. What just happened here?
Yeah. And then we get to.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if we can get to the very.
I couldn't help.
I don't think I pulled enough.
What'd you
That's just him walking away. We have more.
We do.
We have more. We can do let's do cut 5.
Cut 5.
This is Biden being confused on where he should go.
I can go. The lady on the phone.
He looks confused.
Where do I go?
Hands up. Where do I go?
I felt bad for the aide behind him who's on 2 phones. Like, I don't know what he's doing. I'm trying to figure it out now. This is horrible.
We can go to cut 6.
Cut 6.
Another example of him just forgetting what he's doing.
Take one. If you don't, come on up on stage with me. Well, thank you very much. You know,
Right there. There it is.
got it over here. Hey, folks, how are you?
So what we just witnessed was him getting lost in a train of thought, and I call it a reboot moment. It's like he just restarted the operating system. And I'm gonna pull it back up. I'm gonna see if I can pull the actual
like when
facial
his eyes
expression.
glaze over. You see it right about
Let's find it.
Very much.
Just let it keep rolling, yeah.
You know,
it's right there.
Right there. That is the moment that have you seen that that clip of the lady in the airplane where she's like, I don't care, that person is not real. He's looking at that podium and he's confused about what that podium is.
Yeah, he's
like, why am I? He says, why am I he's thinking, why am I holding a microphone? Why is that podium there? I think I have to put the microphone back on the podium. Which he proceeds to do.
Look, oh my gosh, he's totally.
And then he realizes, oh no, actually, I'm giving a speech right now. So let me pick up the microphone again.
Hey, folks, how are you?
And
Hi,
then he
folks.
recovers.
And he's back.
With humor. I wonder if somebody's in his ear, like, pick it up, Joe. Pick it up. Pick it up. You're still giving a speech, Joe.
That look of like, it was almost a look of terror.
Yeah.
And that is something that, listen, we all hope that we live to a ripe old age, and we all hope that we can spend all this time with friends and family. We know that when you get older, you lose a step, but this is not losing a step. No. This is a sign of mental decline. Absolutely. You're in the middle of talking about something and you're just gone. And that's not like, oh, I forgot the word. Oh, I forgot what I was saying. His face drained of emotion. He looked at the podium and was like, well, what do I do now?
It was scary. No, it was terror.
This gets swept under the rug. They sweep this one under the rug. It's
and if this had happened to Trump, I know this is something we say all the time. It would be on every news cycle nonstop for 6 months until the next election. It wouldn't go away, and this stuff just disappears. It just gets swept under the rug, and this is the guy that's in charge of the nuclear football.
Yeah.
He has the nuclear football in his hands. This is the guy that makes the decision for our army. If we were to be attacked, this is the guy that has to make the call. You know,
allegedly.
So who's in charge of the United States? If he can't handle himself on stage, how can he handle himself, say, at a meeting with some diplomats? Just this last weekend, right? King Charles, I always want to call him Prince Charles. King Charles was leading him around like a sick old man.
Yeah.
And it's like,
well, the first idea is it's the handlers who are doing it. And we do have a clip of the handlers explaining him how to walk and where to walk like he's a baby. This is cut 7.
Got it.
And down here?
Yes, sir. Down the ramp. And we have people lined up on the left over here. some union leaders and
Hey,
workers.
guys and ladies.
Look, he's got
They
that
couldn't
little-
hear him say that, by the way.
Your mark
didn't
is going to be the blue one to the left.
How y'all doing?
You've got a blue mark, and that's okay.
I'll stand my blue mark, and then I'm going to say load each one of you.
Yes, sir. I'll help you get started.
I get to give orders, right?
Your blue mark. Okay, I'm gonna go stand on the blue mark,
mark.
And then I'm gonna help you get started. Okay, then I'll give the orders.
You don't repeat what your stagehand tells you. Anybody who's been on stage before knows they talk in your ear. You see the signal, you go do it.
Well, there was a clip I didn't pull it of when his inauguration asterisk,
Yeah.
where he's walking past the Marines, and he doesn't salute the Marine. Instead, he audibly says, "Salute the Marines." And the theory is someone was in his earpiece telling him to salute the Marines, and instead he just repeated it, which can be a symptom of different mental issues. You see that a lot. You see that a lot with people on the autism spectrum, where they'll hear a noise and they'll mimic it, right? You can also see that with people in serious mental decline, where they hear instructions and they just repeat it. They repeat it, which we just saw there. We also see Jill Biden controlling him, physically controlling him, what he can and can't do, when he can stay. And when he starts to wander, if she's nearby, she stops him from wandering. And we have that as cut 4, where they're on stage together and Jill Biden tells him, just stay. Just stay. Don't move. Just stay. Almost like he's a child.
Okay, just stay.
She's telling me just sit, don't move. She's a teacher.
I'm the teacher, you know.
Just stay. Just stay. And he repeats it. Just
because
stay.
he
Don't
wanted
move.
to get up. He wanted to get up. Just wandering away from social situation.
And this is something that will happen with Alzheimer's patients, with dementia patients. It's almost like they get bored. They don't know what they're doing. They want to stay active. They don't like just sitting around. And so there's lots of theories about why this happens to people who are suffering from mental decline. But we just saw that one clip of him having what I call the Windows shutdown moment. They don't want to do that, and they don't want to be. They want to stay active to avoid that. So you will see Alzheimer's patients, dementia patients, almost like a small child. Just like I have this with my kids. We'll go somewhere. Like I'll be online with my son, even my 5-year-old son. I'll be online. We went to Comic-Con the other day. We're waiting in line to get in there, and all of a sudden I turn back, and he's just like meandering away. Like, what are you doing? We're online.
Yeah. Starts chasing them off.
Yeah. Well, not chase them off. Just like I want to go over here now.
Yeah.
It's expected from children. It's not expected from the leader of the free world. Asterisk.
President of the United States.
Asterisk.
Well, asterisk. Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out how you get 100% of the votes in 1 hour.
No. We're on YouTube.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't say that. You're right.
We're on YouTube.
It was just a question. Allegedly.
I promise our YouTube overlords, we 100% do not think that.
It was fraud. Yeah, it wasn't. It was a total.
It wasn't
the most secure election in the history of elections.
We're gonna get banned on the first episode.
No, we're not. We're not even talking about it.
Well, let's close it. I want to run this because another part of dementia that isn't on this list is losing your internal filter and losing the ability to decide internally what you should say. So we all think things and we don't say them because we know better than to say them. When you have dementia and when you have Alzheimer's or any other kind of elderly mental decline, you lose that filter and you say things you're really not supposed to say. Like just the other day, Biden was asked as he's leaving a room, why are you giving cluster munitions to Ukraine? And his answer is cut 14. It's because we're running out of ammo. Play cut 14.
Mr. President, any update on the cocaine? Mr. President, on cluster munitions, why now?
We've run out of ammunition.
So out of all the things you don't tell the world, that the United States is running out of ammunition, that we do not have the ability to be a war-fighting force. You can know it, you can think it, you can assume everyone else knows it, but you don't say it.
Say it. Wow.
You don't say it.
The quiet part out loud.
It's the quiet part out loud.
He's been doing that since, gosh, during the last election cycle. You were saying that, saying he's always saying the quiet part out loud. He's always saying the quiet part, and he is, man. Plus, our adversaries, they watch every single news clip,
totally.
every video, and you don't think they're people right now? Oh, they're running out of this.
Well, so
an advantage.
They'll know. I mean, I know this. We know this. If you give Ukraine all of our artillery shells, we don't have any artillery shells left. We know that, right? That's why we went to South Korea and we bought old, like, surplus shells from them. We bought shells from them to send to Ukraine. Oh, it almost felt a little bit like an Iran-Contra. Like, we'll buy it from you and we'll give it to them. The dealings of it, like, okay, we're going to give it to Ukraine, but we're going to get it from this country first. And we promised South Korea, okay, we'll make you more.
Someday.
Yeah, someday. Right now, the United States, I believe, they're gearing up to 10,000 artillery shells a month, I think was the goal. Manufacturing.
Not a lot.
Which Ukraine is going through that in less than a week.
Yeah.
So you can't be the armory of another country. You just can't, right? Whether you like Ukraine or don't like Ukraine. At no point has Ukraine ever, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't see them trying to build artillery shells, right? They're expecting it to come from us.
Wartime production's hard.
According to him, we're out of ammunition, which is true. And listen, artillery shells, you talk to liberals, they'll be like, oh, well, what do we need artillery shells for? You do some deep digging, and you look at some of the war games that the military has had of, like, potential war with China. One of the strategies is to put artillery pieces in the South China Sea and all these islands and creating a kill boxes in the South China Sea. So we actually, in our plans, in our war games, have artillery as a major piece in the South China Sea.
But what happens if we don't have any artillery shells?
You can't. You're done. So it's a quiet part out loud. And the last quiet part out loud I want to play is Biden admitting that the goal is to make sure that Trump can't run, which is a quiet part out loud. We all know that that's what they're doing. You're not supposed to say it. We can play cut 15. This is Biden admitting to making sure that Trump's not going to be able to run.
We just have to demonstrate that he will not take power by if he does run, making sure he, under legitimate efforts of our Constitution, does not become the next president again.
That is the legitimate efforts under our Constitution. We're going to make sure that even if he does run, he cannot be president again. Talking about criminal investigations, talking about
all that stuff, everything that's happening right now.
Yeah,
that's insane. Then the more I watch this guy, we put the stuff together and we kind of laugh about it, but when we start talking about it and we hit the air with it, boy, it just starts hitting home, doesn't it? It's like,
oh yeah, and we played half of them. We have probably half a dozen more that we could play, like him mistaking his wife and his sister, getting them confused.
I remember that one, man.
That's not Biden doing an interview on MSNBC and just getting up and walking away. Listen, and there's hundreds more. And this is something where you don't need to be a doctor to realize it. We've all, I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone, but most of us have experienced a loved one or a friend or a coworker or acquaintance going through this mental decline. And we know what it looks like. We know we don't need to be a doctor to know what we're seeing. And we're all seeing it. and we all know exactly what we're seeing. And Democrats are ignoring it because the ends justify the means.
It's worse than that. Not only are they're just not hiding it; they're lying about it, right? I mean, they will go out of their way to not report something, which is just as dangerous, right? Because if you're informing the people that this guy that you could be voting for another 4 years as your president, as the commander in chief of our military and our country, what do you do about it?
It's like the video where Biden was shaking hands with the air. Remember that? He was shaking hands with a ghost. Yeah. And the media said, "Oh no, he was gesturing to someone else."
No, or it was when he covered his hand during the national anthem for another country. Yeah. It was I forgot the country, and then he realizes it. It's like, with somebody in his ear, cover your heart. Yeah. Dude, it's just
no,
it's scary stuff.
It's bad. It's bad, and you got. I waffle between hating him and hating the people who put him up to this. Frankly,
because now he's a victim. This
is elder abuse. There's times where he is completely lucid and he's terrible. He's terrible for the country, and he knows what he's doing, and he's deliberately trying to destroy this country. But there's also the people, the enablers, his wife, his aides, his confidants, who are pushing him into these positions, knowing full well he has no idea what the hell is going on. He doesn't know where he is, when he is, who he is, and they are just signing his name on the dotted line anyway. Frustrating. Well, that's the first episode. Yeah, that's the first episode in a nutshell. Any closing thoughts?
Well, yeah, that's just what I keep asking, because if anything happens to Joe Biden, Kamala Harris becomes president, and Joe Biden can't do the job because he's obviously got some issues he needs to work out, but Kamala doesn't care, right? So if they do end up impeaching Biden over all the stuff that's come up with the Burisma stuff and all of that, you're just going to get something in place that might be effectively weaker, because she'll be able to make real decisions, right? And she'll be able to force people to do things.
You're right. And she'd be terrible. And you're right that she would probably be more of an activist on many issues than Biden would be.
Absolutely.
Because she wouldn't need people to tell her what to do. She'd have her own terrible ideas.
Right.
But the fear of who's waiting in the wings cannot be a justification for turning a blind eye to lawlessness.
I would agree with that.
Right. You can't say, it's too dangerous to punish Biden for weaponizing the DOJ against his opponent, right? Or what just happened yesterday or the day before. This guy came out as a whistleblower that Hunter Biden was involved in illegal foreign dealings. And what did the DOJ do? They charged him with illegal foreign dealings and swept it under the rug for Biden. So you can't turn a blind eye to it. You can't allow the fear of what comes next to cloud your ability to handle the terribleness that's happening right now.
Scary stuff, man. I mean, that's we just pretty much created the state of our country in an hour and 3 minutes.
Hour and 3 minutes. Well, that's all we got. We're going to be coming live once a week, at least in the start. We'll try to go a little bit more than that as we get into the swing of things. We still have some kinks we need to work out. Not sure if it's going to be Wednesdays. Not sure if it's going to be this time. We'll let everyone know. But let us know in the comments what you think. We're happy to be back. We're going to try and bring more content like this, more deep dives, more explaining things in the future. So let us know in the comments what you think.
Max. He's really good at history. Yeah. We need some of those. I miss those. I miss you going to those deep dives on some of that history stuff.
I've been reading a lot about like World War II, World War I, and like crazy things that happened. Like I think it was the USS Texas was a battleship in Normandy, and the guns couldn't reach where the Americans had advanced to. So the battleship actually flooded the ballasts so that it would tilt on its side, so the guns could actually fire higher. So the ship partially sunk itself so that it could hit the Germans even further. Cool things like that. I'd love to do episodes like that.
I'm ready, dude. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Well, that's the funny thing. When I left Conservative Daily, I had a show. I don't want to give too much shade. I'm going to give a little shade for this. When I left Conservative Daily, I had a show called Real American History. And I didn't care if I had it or not, but Joe insisted on taking it back. He insisted on having it. He said, nope, transfer ownership of this to me right now. So I said, fine, take it. They unhosted it. So it no longer exists. It's no longer hosted anywhere. You can't find those episodes. They didn't even keep it on a free version so it could live in perpetuity. They demanded it back and they got rid of it. So might have to do some of those episodes again and cover that stuff again.
Let me know. Well, this has been fun, dude. It's good to be back with you. It's good to be sitting back in the chair. It's a little bit different, but just because it's different doesn't mean it's not still part of the family.
Yeah, no. And that's the ship of Theseus, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It can be different, but it can also be the same. And technically, right now, there are more people from the early days of Conservative Daily here than over there. So, what's the real ship of Theseus? We'll have to ask that question for future episodes. That's going to be it for our new show, The Right Guys. If you like the show, make sure you subscribe, follow us. We go live on YouTube, on Rumble, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Audible, and Podbean. Those are the audio podcasts. So make sure you follow it there. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you do that. Even if you watch us live, it's really helpful to subscribe to the audio version. That way we can prove numbers to advertisers in the future. If you want to work with Josh and have him record your voicemail greeting or audiobook, go to voicehammer.com, voicehammer.com. He is the Voice Hammer. And if you want to pick up my new book, available on Amazon, link in that description. That's it for this edition of The Right Guys. My name is Max McGuire.
I am Josh Hammerling. Thanks for getting the button, buddy.
And I have to come up with an outro. It can't be my old outro.
Yeah, I know.
I'll have a good outro next time.
I felt good as soon as you said it. I was like, oh, he's wrapping it up. I know where we're going. I'm going to go to the screen.
It's like riding a bike and then realizing you actually forget how to ride a bike. I had to read
a little bit.
everything.
I'm still mad at myself for the intro, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get there. All right, everyone. We'll be back in next week. If you have any suggestions on what we should cover, leave a comment in the comment section. See you guys.
See you. What are you doing?